Fred Pawle is an avid surfer. He's been writing about and discussing shark management for decades. We've had him on the program before. He joins me now. Good to talk to you again. Fred, this is the sort of fatality you've warned about often because so many of the beaches along Sydney are protected by nets. Little Bay, where this happened, is not. It's an unprotected beach. Therefore, the chances of this happening obviously are dramatically higher.
Well, they're getting higher and higher, Chris, because clearly the population of great whites and other lethal sharks in Australia, and especially off New South Wales, is just out of hand. I mean, all the anecdotal evidence from sightings and from attacks suggests that the population of sharks is increasing, but our friends in the research industry of sharks are in denial about that.
Yeah, look, this is an ongoing issue because the beaches in New South Wales and Queensland, a lot of popular beaches are protected with nets and drum lines in Queensland. These kill a lot of sharks every year, but the results are there. Those protected beaches in Sydney have not had a fatality in nearly 60 years. In Queensland, they've had like one fatality in over 50 years.
Yep.
So it's proven that they work. Should we be protecting more beaches, for instance, in Western Australia, or should the sharks get to hold sway in their own domain?
Well, Queensland has the world's best shark management or control program in the world. It's nets and drum lines. There's over 360 drum lines and about 30 odd nets at protected beaches around Queensland. And since 1962, there's been 2 fatalities. Outside those beaches, there's been dozens of fatalities. So clearly something works. Now, this fatality in Sydney wasn't too far from a net at Maroubra, and I think there's 51 nets in New South Wales around Newcastle, Sydney and Wollongong. And last year, those nets killed 31 sharks, 31 tigers, bull sharks and great whites, which are the ones we want to prevent.
Well, the point is that, of course, they don't expand these protection measures because people complain about sharks getting killed, the 30 you mentioned there. But now they're talking, after this fatality, a drum line out there to try and catch the shark. Well, catching the shark now is not the point. Well, the idea is to do it before they kill people.
The methods that the DPI has implemented since this fatality are exactly the methods that contributed to the problem in the first place. So they're going to put a smart drum line out there, right? So if it does, in the low chance that they catch the thing, they're just going to let it go anyway. That's why sharks are proliferating off New South Wales, because we use supposedly smart drum lines. They're incredibly stupid because you catch them, then you let them go. The other method they've implemented is drones. Drones can't see a thing in deep water. So, these are the strategies that have contributed to the danger in New South Wales, and they never learn anything.
Well, of course, great whites were considered endangered, and that's why they were protected back in the 80s, I think it was. Now, of course, in the decades since, their numbers have increased. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence to support that. So you have to talk about protecting populated beaches more readily. It's not about eradicating great whites. No, it's about protecting people at popular locations.
But what's happened since then, Chris, since protection was introduced, is that there's been the emergence of this new social attitude where it's wrong to kill animals to protect humans. I don't know how we change that.
Yeah, it's a hell of a debate. Thanks for joining us, Fred.
Thanks, mate.
Fred Pawle there, and commiserations, of course, to the family of that victim there. It's just a terrible thing.